Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Loren Feldman, and today my guest is Kurt Wilkin, who has had a broad range of experiences as an entrepreneur and as an investor. He's co-founder of HireBetter, a recruiting business, and also author of Who's Your Mike, which features chapters on the kinds of hiring and management challenges all entrepreneurs face. Welcome back to the podcast, Kurt.
Hey, Loren, thanks so much for having me. And man, I've listened to many of your recent episodes. I still continue to love what you're doing for the small business owner and the entrepreneur.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. I really appreciate your saying that. Listen, you've been here before, Kurt, but remind us quickly, what kind of recruiting does HireBetter do?
So we are a strategic talent partner for entrepreneurial companies. So think about as entrepreneurs go from scrappy startup to next level and professionalize their organization, that's where we come in to help you really build a team to scale.
Which is related to the book you wrote, Who's Your Mike? Tell us who Mike is again.
The quick version is Mike is one of about 12 archetypes in the book, and Mike is your bookkeeper turned CFO. He's been with you for 5 or 8 years, and now you're trying to grow and scale to the next level. And Mike has outlived not his usefulness, but his title is overinflated for what he's able to do. And so what do you do with Mike once you've reached that point where you need a true, in this example, next level CFO, but you've got really a glorified bookkeeper in that CFO role? So the first chapter is what do you do with Mike and people like Mike?
It's a really good book. I think one of the points that becomes clear is that the only way to avoid that kind of issue is to have a business that never grows. Otherwise, at some point, you're going to find that the things that got you where you are aren't going to get you where you want to go, and you got to make some changes. And sometimes those changes are really painful, like with Mike.
That's exactly right. And every entrepreneur either has had a Mike, will have a Mike, or currently has a Mike. You're not alone. And, just the question is, how do you treat Mike and what do you do if you really want to grow? You're exactly right. If you don't want to grow, you don't need to do anything with Mike.
Now, you also do some investing. And if I'm not mistaken, you might be looking to close on a company today. Is that correct?
Well, so with HireBetter, I also have a small angel investing firm that we've done about 150 investments. The one we're closing today is actually for HireBetter. We're in the process of acquiring a new company that will help us grow our capabilities in the recruiting world.
And so this is right down to the line. You expect it to close today?
It's right down to the wire. In fact, when we hopped on, I was checking my text to make sure I didn't have to approve a bank wire to the sellers. So this is real time, man. Let's go.
Well, listen, if you get a call from your bank and you want to take it while we're doing this podcast, feel free. We'll all be happy to listen in and hear how it goes. Can you tell us what kind of company it is?
You bet. So currently we help companies mostly with executive level hires and the next level down. This we get a lot of requests from people who wanted us to help them with deeper into the organization, executive leadership roles, and we're just not priced very well for that, and we're not set up for that. With our process, it takes just as much time to help you with a mid-level manager as it does for a CEO. So we're acquiring a company that's going to allow us to do what we're calling recruiting as a service. So if you need 10 to 12 hires over the next year or 6 months, we can augment or take over your entire recruiting department on a monthly pay solution. And this company is going to give us a head start on that. We're super excited. We're going to publicly announce it on Wednesday. I know this podcast is coming Monday, so I won't mention names. But teaser alert, look out for news from HireBetter next week.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm guessing the last couple of years have been a good time to be in the recruiting business with the great resignation and everything. Am I right about that?
It has been. It's also been a time to really separate the real players from the people who just want to get rich, because it's just been a different, a unique environment. So,
what are you thinking now as the economy turns a little bit? What impact do you think a recession might have on your business?
That's a great question. And I do think that you're going to have continued separation of the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And I think that a recession is not good for recruiters as a whole. However, I will say this, and your audience is a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs. There are a lot of companies who grow tremendously in a down market. If you run your company well and you're serving the needs of folks in a way that's fair and equitable, I think you can continue to do great in a down economy. And that's the exact market that we serve. So we think we're going to be okay, if not grow. But you never know. People are less willing to pay for some of our services in a down market as well.
Sure.
So I'm not naive, that's for sure.
On Friday, we just got a report that wages continued to rise pretty significantly in the third quarter, which just highlights what an unusual time this has been. We're all concerned about going into recession, but the labor market remains very strong by a lot of measures. What do you make of that? Do you think the labor shortage is ending, or do you see it going on for a while?
Well, I might get myself in a little bit of trouble talking about the recession that's pending and looming, if you will. I think some of that is, unfortunately, it's I don't want to say media driven, but the more we talk about a recession, the more it could happen.
Everybody loves to blame the media.
Well, you're no longer in the media, Loren. So
yes, I am. 21 Hats Media is my company.
Look, the more we talk about it, the more it could become a reality, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, and we've still been dealing with folks, a lot of your audience challenged to find employees over the last 6 or 12 months. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the rates still increase. I think if you want to attract A players or strong B players to your organization, you're going to continue to see the labor costs increase. If you're content with finding whoever is available, I don't think you have as big of a problem. And I think by the same token, if you're looking for a job, many of your audience may be looking for a job, you can find a job. The question is, you're going to find a career. You're going to find the right opportunity. Take your time.
The thing I keep hearing from people is everybody has worked so hard to get fully staffed. A lot of people haven't gotten fully staffed, but to whatever extent they have, it's been hard work to find the right people and retain them. Nobody wants to lay those people off or think about having to go through something like that again. I think people are going to be slow to do that, even if the economy does slow down, even if business does slow down for some of these folks. Is that what you're hearing from your clients as well?
Yeah. So you're touching on a great topic. Do I hold on to people and hope that the business turns if I do feel some shrinking in the fourth quarter, or do I I'll say knee jerk. That's probably not fair, but do I start letting people go? It's a balance for sure. If you think that your company's not going to turn anytime soon, then you do want to tighten the belt. The last thing you want to do is go into the fourth quarter and first quarter of 23 with a fat, staff, and you can't recover that money. But by the same token, if you think you're going to turn, I would encourage you to think long and hard. Here's what I think is an opportunity for most of your audience, Loren, and that is now, if you haven't done so already, now is a perfect time to assess your existing team and make changes if for the underperformers. That's where I think the opportunity is. Keep your star players and pay for them with the savings you're going to have from people who are underperforming. And if you think you're not sure if you have an underperformer, the answer is you probably have an underperformer. But I've got some questions you can ask yourself if you think if you're in doubt.
I know a consultant who likes to start his sessions with business owners and entrepreneurs by asking the question, think about your staff. Would you hire them all again if you had it to do over? And I think that kind of leads in the same direction you're suggesting, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. That's one of the 4 questions I like to ask. Knowing today what you know about your organization and where you're going, would you enthusiastically rehire Mike, Loren, Kurt, Bob, whoever, in their existing role?
All right. A couple of hiring related issues I'd just love to run by you. I've heard a lot of people talking about them lately. It's come up on the podcast too. This week, a new law takes effect in New York City. Almost all companies there will have to include a salary range in all of their job listings. This is happening in other parts of the country as well. Is this a good thing for businesses or a bad thing to have to include a salary range? What do you think?
I think you're already in a candidate-driven market, so I don't think it's going to hurt you. And I don't know exactly what the rule is. Loren, you may know better than I do how wide the range can be. But if you can,
it's really weird. I think they say you have to make a good faith attempt to give a realistic approach. And that's, obviously that's going to be hard to define. So I think you put your finger on an important issue.
Yeah. I think here's where I would encourage your listeners to move in this direction. There's a lot of talk about compensation being part of the big resignation, and I'm sure it is, and I know it is some. But the bigger thing that most candidates are looking for in today's day and age is a mission, a vision, something that they can believe in, your core values, where you're going as an organization. That is just as, if not more important than many than dollars. And I know your audience may say, "Oh, that's not true. I can't believe it." I'm not talking about the difference between $20 an hour and $10 an hour. I'm talking about a much narrower difference. But if you're in line compensation wise, and you have something that candidates can believe in, now you've got the ability to make a great company that nobody wants to leave.
That makes sense. Here's another one. Do you use ZipRecruiter or Indeed? What do you think of those platforms? Are they effective for you, or do you find another way?
Well, we're a recruiting firm, so we're slightly different. So let me give you two answers. One, for us, we do use some platforms like the job boards to post certain things. Typically, we're using it for market data. We're trying to find out what else is out there, who else is looking. Most of our candidates are through other means, so people who aren't looking for a job. However, I know for a lot of your folks who are hiring frontline workers, those are great sources. The challenge that I have for most entrepreneurs is you're going to get a lot of volume through some of those shops. The question is, are you able to be discreet and selective? That's the biggest challenge for most entrepreneurs. Me, for example, I'm a very glass half full person, and so I'm going to like almost everybody who comes in the door.
Entrepreneurs are like that.
Yep, and even if I don't like you per se, I might take you as a challenge. How can I help this stray cat, become a great lion?
That's dangerous.
Exactly, and so that's why I don't hire anymore. My team does all the hiring. So that's the thing. If you use something like that and you're getting 1,000 applicants, you need to be able to have a system for going through them and really being selective and finding the top 2 or 3 you want to make an offer to.
All right. So you referred to compensation. CNBC recently had a story about how business owners compensate themselves. And they reported that more than a quarter of them don't actually pay themselves. And the story just made abundantly clear that owners really struggle figuring out how to compensate themselves, even if they are paying themselves. It's hard for them to deal with. Do you have any advice on that, or how someone should think about setting their own salary?
Well, so there's a couple of ways I could read your question, so I'm going to give you a couple of answers if that's okay.
Please.
The first one is, my business doesn't make very much money, so I'm going to make sure I pay my employees, and I'm not going to take a salary. And I'm going to hope that at some point I'm going to either be able to turn it around or I can sell it, and that's where I'll make my money. That is dangerous, because if you aren't able to turn it or you're not able to sell it, you just have a really shitty job.
Yep.
And I mean, let's be honest about it, right? Are you able to truly run a profitable business? You don't want to do this just for charity. Surely there's other reasons that you're doing this, not just for money, but money's got to be part of it. So that's one part of the answer is...
Speaking for myself here, there are people who are in a situation sometimes where they're hoping the business is going to grow and they're going to get to the point where they can pay themselves appropriately, but they feel like they need to do what they need to do to get to that point. Does that make sense?
That's exactly right. And I think if you've been at it for a long time and you're still not making money, might be some flaws in your business model. And I know, speaking, openly, I know you've taken a look at that, and I've taken a look at that for myself, and making the changes to make it happen. So you can't just keep going status quo and hope it turns. There might be some changes that have to take place. But be honest with yourself. If you're going to be sitting down here 3 years from now and you're still not making money, that's 3 valuable years.
Right. Right.
So let me answer. There's another maybe hidden part of the question that CNBC asked, and this is just based on my quick analysis of the question. The other thing I think about when I think of small business owners who have trouble paying themselves or how to pay themselves is sometimes we feel guilty paying ourselves a lot if our team makes $20 an hour, for example. And that's part of capitalism, is that the business owner takes the risks. The risks should bear out to make more money than you would have if you had taken this as a job. So I challenge your small business owners and your entrepreneurs that you work with to not get caught up in comparing themselves with their team, because there's a lot of risk. You're putting their homes, your future, all your compensation at risk. The reward should be you make pretty good money at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That makes sense. All right. So tell me this: you're in Austin. I know you have a broad network of people that you're in touch with. You're talking to business owners and entrepreneurs all the time. What's the vibe like in Austin right now?
Well, we feel, and this is just an honest answer, we feel somewhat insulated in Texas and in Austin because we have such a diverse economy, and we're just different than the rest of the country. And usually that's a good thing. Obviously, if we're so tied into oil and gas or something like that, it's a bad thing. But our economy is so diverse at this point that we feel like we can weather a lot of storms. And in Austin, there's a lot of people moving here from the coast, and their companies are moving from the coast. So we're a little insulated. So that's a tough question to answer with any real value for the rest of your audience.
Tough because it's just such a broad range of experiences. Is that what you mean?
Well, tough because if I'm in Detroit, for example, I might feel differently about the future of the economy because I might be so tied in with the auto industry, for example.
Sure.
And so I'm going to have a much different answer for you if I'm in Detroit than I am in Austin.
But that's why I asked you. I wanted to hear, even if it makes us jealous, I'd like to hear what things are looking like in Austin.
Yeah. So we feel pressure from the macroeconomic environment, which is the world, globally and the U.S. as a whole. And we feel somewhat protected. So we don't believe we're going to get hit as hard as some of the other economies might. So not that we feel good. I'll just say we feel better.
Gotcha.
We're still concerned, but not as concerned as I would be in Detroit, for example.
All right, Kurt. We're just about done here. Have you heard from your bank?
So for those of you listening, I'm going to get a call from my bank any minute to press send on the wire to acquire this company. And I have not heard that yet, but I did miss a text string from my partner and our lawyers saying hop on a call at 2:15. So I'm 10 minutes late.
Well, I'm going to let you go. Good luck with that, Kurt. We'll have to have another conversation at some point. It's interesting that you're going to be able to expand your offerings at HireBetter, and I'll be eager to hear how that plays out.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Loren.
Kurt Wilkin is co-founder of HireBetter and author of Who's Your Mike? Thanks so much for taking the time, Kurt.
You got it, Loren. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Have a great week, everyone.